Okay, let's take a look at this. Let's say that we're in the unit circle and we have our little picture here, and this is 40 degrees, and I want to know what the whole opening from here to here is. You'd say, oh, well, that's easy, Mr. Hickam. It's 90 degrees here plus the 40, add them together, 130 degrees. Okay, yeah, that should be easy. But what if I put the 20 degrees here? Are you going to go, oh, that's 90 degrees plus, I don't know what to do. Well, common sense would say, hey, if you went all the way over, all the way to right here, you went 180 degrees. But since this opened back that way 20, what do you have to do? You're like, oh, I just subtract it. Okay. So when we look at a picture like this, we basically, to figure out this angle here, to go, oh, 180 minus the 20. Unlike here, where you went, oh, I just got to do 90 plus the 40. So you have to think it through. And it seems a little easy here, but in a minute, sometimes kids get confused. Well, what if I have 30 degrees here in the third quadrant? This is a very simple, oh, you went 180 plus 30, you went 210 degrees. There you're adding the 30 to it, not subtracting. Well, what about here? You can't go, oh, 180 plus, I don't know what that is. Right? What you do here is you're like, hey, what happens is I'm going all the way to here, which is 270, and I need to back up 20. I need to subtract 20 to get to that 250. So you have to think where the angle is, whether you're adding or subtracting. So here, this is 40. What would we do? Well, what I would do is I would say, hey, it's 40 here. All the way around is 360, and then I need to back up 40 degrees. So that line is at 320. I'm not going to be adding 40 to anything. I'm going to be subtracting 40. All depends on where the angle is, okay? Now, what we want to look at here is, let's say that I tell you that we want to know the opening from here. We're always going to open from here. And I tell you that my line, my terminating side, let's say it goes through the point -3,4. Okay, let's say it goes through the point -3,4. So right here, it's going through the point -3,4. And I want to figure out the opening here. Well, what am I going to do? Well, here's what we do. We say, hey, I do know 2 points here, and I can form a triangle. I can form 2 different triangles. I could form one here, and that's right angle. We know we went over 3. We went up 4. We could find that theta there. Now, if I find that theta there, what am I going to do with it? Let's say that theta is 20 degrees. Well, you're going to have to go to 180 and then subtract back and go, oh, then it's 160. But notice the other thing that could have happened. Yes, we're going through -3,4 again. Just give me a second. Going through -3,4 again. But instead of forming the triangle that way, we could have formed it which way? We could have done it this way. That length right here, still you went over 3. This height is still 4, right? So you still could have that, and we need to find theta. So then you're going to do 90 plus it. So it all depends on how you make your triangle. Okay, everything depends on how we make our triangle. And that is important. So let's look at the problem and get an answer this time. And we'll go ahead and do it both ways. Here's -3,4. That's where we're crossing through. We're trying to find this angle. This time, I'm going to go ahead and make it like that. I'm going to make theta right here. And when I find theta, I'm just going to go, hey, I went 90 plus whatever theta is. That'll make my life easy. All I got to do is get the lengths here. So what is that part of that right triangle? That went over 3. Now its length is 3. We're not going to put a negative on it. It's just length is 3. The height, well, says, hey, I'm 4. So you're dealing with a triangle like this with 3, 4. Here's your right angle, and you and I are trying to find theta down here. Well, you could do Pythagorean theorem and get 5. I know that, but I don't need to. I got this guy over here, this guy right here. That's a tangent. Tangent of theta is opposite over what? adjacent. Okay. Now, I'm going to grab Mr. Calculator. I'm going to put in inverse tangent instead of doing that. And I get 36.9 degrees when I do the, remember to find an angle, you always have to do tangent -1, the arctan. And I got, as I have here, 36.9 degrees. If that's 36.9 degrees, we went 90 plus 36.9 degrees. That makes what? 126.9 degrees is your opening if you are going through the point -3,4. Now, let's say we're going through that point -3,4 again. But this time, to find that, you and I went this way. No big deal. We went over 3, height is 4. So we're trying to find theta there. So we have a right triangle, trying to find theta. Here's 4, here's 3. Again, the tangent of theta is opposite. Notice 4 is on top, this time 3 is on bottom. That's sort of the difference. Last time 3 was on top, 4 was on bottom. That's why it's going to give us a different angle opening. And if we do that, which will simply be 90 minus 36.9, but hey, let's pretend we don't quite know that. 4/3, 53.1, which is exactly what I expected. So this is 53.1 degrees. Now, you're not going to add 90 to that. You have to say, hey, I went 180 and then I backed up 53.1. So you got to do 180 minus that 53.1, which guess what it gives you? That same answer right here. Same answer right here, 126.9. It's the exact same. It has to be. It's not like the angle is going to change. Okay. So those are the two ways we need to do it. Now, I want to do one more problem. And you're going to probably need to look at my examples of where I do a bunch of the problems to sort of help you get along with that. But I don't want you to sit here for 6 hours watching me talk. A plane is flying due east, and at the point 27, it must turn north to go to the point 89. Now, this is another type of problem that we do. So this plane is flying due east. So here's flying, and right here at this point, 27. It says, hey, tower, you've reached the tower, and it says, hey, I need you to turn to go up to this point over here, 89. That's the next spot you're going. So how many degrees does that pilot turn to the left up towards north to go? Well, if you think of it this way, you got a right triangle. You're trying to figure out what theta is to tell them how many degrees to turn left, right? What do we know? Well, this was at the point 2. It's now over here at 8. That length is 6. The height, well, it went from a height of 7 to a height of 9, so that's 2. So, opposite adjacent, the tangent of theta is 2, 6. So you and I need to take the inverse tangent of both sides. And the inverse tangent of 2, 6, I got 18.4 degrees. So I know the pilot needs to turn his plane 18.4 degrees to the left towards the north to get to that next spot of 8, 9.